Vera ran into the room and went straight to her closet. She was panting heavily, but didn't have time to catch her breath. She had no time to waste. She knew Alex was on his way home, and with what Alex had just found out, her life could be in danger. She opened her box and took the envelope containing her international passport and her documents. Then she heard the gate open.
Vera ran to the window and pulled the curtain open to peek outside.
It was Alex's car. Vera held the envelope as she ran out of the room. Her life was literally hanging by a thread because she knew her dear husband might not spare her, not after what she did. This is African Folktales with Nsinem. Come closer, cause this story is very juicy. Before Alex's wife was literally running away from him, Alex was a single, handsome young man that honestly believed he was God's gift to women. And looking at him, you would agree completely. He had a beautiful body, well-sculpted abs, the face of an angel, a fat bank account, and an even fatter ego. Alex believed he could get any woman, and most of the time, he was right. But the day Alex met Vera was the day his perfect life began to collapse. He was sitting at the bar having a drink with his friend Chike when Vera walked in. You see, unlike Alex, Chike was quite shy. He was handsome, well-to-do, but whenever he met a lady he liked, Chike would suddenly go mute. Alex had tried unsuccessfully over the years to boost his friend's morale and get him to toast a girl, but he often failed. The moment Vera walked in, both men were drawn to her. Vera was eye-catching in the most mesmerizing way. It was clear to Alex that Chike was captivated by the lady.
And Chike had begged his friend to let him have Vera. "Guy, you know girls are like tissue paper to you. Let me have this one. I really like her," Chike begged. But Alex wouldn't hear of it. "I have known you for years. You won't be able to talk to her, and once you have approached her, I won't be able to approach her again," Alex said. "I can't allow that fresh meat waste because of your shyness," Alex said. Before Chike could say more, Alex got up and walked over to the table where Vera sat. Few minutes after, he had gotten her number. Alex was a smooth operator with an even smoother tongue. But something had been set into motion that would creep up on all of them at an unexpected time. What started as an attraction between Alex and Vera quickly transformed into an intense romantic relationship. For Vera, she was completely taken by Alex's charms. But for Alex, it was unclear what his motivation really was, because 3 months into the relationship, he proposed to Vera and she accepted. Just before their wedding, Vera had walked in on Alex in a very intimate position with another woman in his sitting room. She had threatened to end the engagement, but Alex had begged her, telling her that everything was going to stop once they get married and that he would honor their vows. Guess what? She believed him. Be honest. If you were Vera, would you have stayed and continued with the wedding or walked away the first time you caught Alex cheating? I would really like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. They had a big wedding, and that was when things switched up. It was hard to tell where things went wrong, if living with Vera had suddenly made her unattractive to him, or if the infatuation had suddenly cleared off. But the sight of Vera began to irritate Alex. At first, Vera thought she was the problem, and so she worked on her hygiene, improved her cooking, scouted the internet for better positions to please Alex in the other room, but nothing seemed to work. Vera reached out to his family, but since Alex wasn't really close to them, they couldn't help much. On one occasion, Vera had rushed back home to get a file and walked in on her legally wedded husband with 2 women. What she saw them doing made her skin crawl. Vera begged and pleaded with him to stop, but Alex just didn't care. Then Vera tried praying. She attended all the tarry nights and vigil nights she knew, but it didn't work. She gave up on fellowships the day a young pastor promised her a turnaround in her marriage if she attended the all-night prayer. Vera was ready to do anything. It seemed like a little price because her dear husband was not even going to be home after the prayers. While everyone slept, Vera received a text message from the pastor. He was asking her to come meet him at the children's room. When she got there, the pastor told her the most beautiful thing she had ever heard. "Sister Vera," the pastor said solemnly, "your blessings are near. I can see your husband smiling beside you. I can see you carrying your child." Vera immediately fell to her knees, tears filling her eyes as she thanked God repeatedly. "But I have been ordered by God to prepare the way," the pastor added. Vera was confused. "I don't understand," Vera said, getting on her feet. "God has instructed me to prepare your body spiritually before restoration can happen," the pastor whispered as he stepped closer. Vera frowned in confusion. "I don't understand, Pastor." Sometimes God uses his servants as vessels. Through divine cleansing, the bond between you and your husband can be restored. Vera stared at him, the fog of exhaustion and desperation suddenly clearing from her mind. The only facade of the children's room felt suffocating. "Divine cleansing?" Vera repeated, her voice trembling, but this time not from devotion. "Pastor, are you asking me to sleep with you?" The pastor cleared his throat, maintaining his solemn, heavily rehearsed expression. "Sister Vera, do not let your carnal mind misinterpret the ways of the Spirit. It is a spiritual sacrifice. Your husband's heart is hardened, and this is the key to breaking that hard-heartedness." Vera looked at him, really looked at him. She saw the greed in his eyes, the absolute lack of shame. A cold fury washed over her, replacing the sadness she had carried for months. She realized then that nobody was going to save her marriage. Not Alex's family, not this predator disguised as a shepherd, and definitely not her tears. Without saying another word, Vera turned around, grabbed her bag, and walked out of the church into the cold morning air. She was done playing the victim. If Alex wanted to treat her like trash and the world wanted to exploit her pain, she was going to change the rules of the game. When she got home, Alex wasn't there. He hadn't even noticed she was gone. Weeks passed and the emotional abuse continued. Alex would look at her with disgust, make snide remarks about her appearance, and openly flaunt his infidelities. One afternoon, while crying at a high-end cafe in Lagos, a voice startled her. "Vera, is that you?" She wiped her tears quickly and looked up. It was Chiki, Alex's shy best friend. Only he didn't look so shy anymore. He looked at her with genuine concern, his eyes mirroring the same captivating warmth from the night they first met. "Chiki," Vera whispered, embarrassed. Chiki sat down. He didn't ask her why she was crying. He already knew. He had watched Alex treat her like a trophy he won just to prove a point, only to throw it in the dustbin once he was bored. That day, Chiki gave Vera a shoulder to lean on, a listening ear, and slowly but slowly her spark returned. "Let me ask you something. Do you think Vera was wrong for finding comfort in Chiki, or was she simply surviving a broken marriage?" Let me know what you think in the comment section. Before we continue, let me take a moment to give shout outs to some amazing people supporting this channel. Shout out to Chelsea watching from Cameroon. A warm shout out to Mariette from Miami, Florida. I appreciate your support. Shout out to Asleep and Scooter from Trinidad. And shout out to Susan from San Jacinto, California. Thank you for being part of this journey. All right, back to the story. Well, she now had someone to talk to. She would dress up beautifully and go out, and soon Alex noticed. Vera was no longer at his beck and call. She was happier. Nothing he did fazed her, and slowly but surely he returned to her.
Something was definitely attracting him. Maybe it was her unavailability or her coldness, but something drew him to her. And months later, Vera told Alex she was pregnant. As Vera's pregnancy progressed, his philandering lifestyle returned. But at this point, Vera didn't care because Chike was always there for her. While Alex was whining and dining other women, Chike was looking after his wife.
Even on the day she put to birth, Alex showed after the baby was born. But guess who was there? Chike. When Alex finally strolled into the hospital room hours after the delivery, smelling of expensive cologne and cheap gin, he found Chike holding the newborn. "Ah, Chike, you're already here?" Alex scoffed, his fatter than ever ego on full display. He didn't even kiss Vera. He just glanced at the baby boy. "He looks robust. Good. A boy to carry on my legacy." Chike gently handed the baby to the nurse, smiled a very tight smile at Alex, and said, "Congratulations, guy. You're a father." If Alex had an ounce of emotional intelligence, he would have noticed the strange, heavy warmth in Chike's voice. But Alex was too busy checking his phone. For the next 2 years, this cycle repeated. Alex went right back to his disgusting philandering lifestyle. He was barely home, spending his fat bank account on countless side chicks, bringing women into hotels, and treating Vera like a piece of furniture. But Vera didn't shed a single tear anymore. Why? Because Chike was funding her peace of mind. Chike bought the baby food, Chike paid for the secret vacations Vera took, and Chike was the one the little boy called uncle, but looked at like a dad. But everything got a lot messier one cool afternoon. Alex and Vera were mystified by the school that their son had developed a high temperature and was already taken to the school clinic. Vera was out of town, and so Alex rushed to the hospital. Vera was informed by Alex via text that their son's fever was getting serious. Vera, who had just finished her last meeting, was able to get on the last flight. By the time she got to the hospital, she walked into the biggest mess. "Oh, Mrs. Alex, your husband has just been tested. Your son needs a blood transfusion." Vera immediately knew there was trouble. "What of the blood bank?" Vera asked. "We don't have O negative," the nurse said. Vera took out her phone and called the one person that would help. As she finished the call, she jumped into her car and drove out. She knew that very soon, Alex would come for her neck, and the reason why was not far away. The reason was lying on the hospital bed fighting for dear life, their son, Alfred. As Vera drove home, her mind took her to how Alfred had been conceived. As Vera's hands gripped the steering wheel, her mind raced back to 3 years ago. The marriage had been a barren wasteland of emotional abuse and neglect. Alex had completely abandoned her bed, spending his nights with high-end side chicks, leaving her to rot in a massive, lonely house. One rainy evening, after Alex had openly insulted her appearance and left for a weekend getaway with another woman, Chike had come over to drop off some documents Alex needed. He found Vera broken, sobbing on the kitchen floor. That night, the boundaries blurred. It wasn't just about revenge. It was two lonely souls finding comfort in each other. Chike had loved her from the very first day at the bar, and Vera desperately needed to be held by someone who saw her as a human being, not tissue paper. It only happened once, but that one time was all it took. When Vera missed her period a month later, she knew immediately. To protect herself and her unborn child from Alex's wrath, she had played a dangerous game. She intentionally acted cold, distant, and beautiful, drawing a curious Alex back into her bed just long enough to make the timeline plausible. Alex, wrapped up in his immense ego, naturally assumed his charms had won her back. He proudly claimed the pregnancy. But the one thing Vera never planned for was science. Back at the hospital, Alex was pacing back and forth, his face flushed with irritation.
He had volunteered his blood for his son, fully expecting to play the role of the heroic, wealthy father. The doctor walked out of the lab, holding a clipboard, looking incredibly puzzled. "Mr. Alex," the doctor said, wiping his glasses, "we have a bit of a situation. Your son, Alfred, has O negative blood. It's a very rare blood type, the universal donor, but can only receive from another O negative." "Okay, so take mine," Alex said impatiently, rolling up his sleeve. "I'm O positive. My blood is top tier."
The doctor shook his head solemnly. "Sir, an O positive father cannot have an O negative child, except the mother is O negative. But there's a biological mismatch here. I suggest you put a call across to the mother of the child to come donate her blood. She has to have the same blood type with your son." The doctor paused, choosing his words carefully, realizing the bomb he was about to drop. "To put it plainly, sir, scientifically speaking, an O negative child cannot be born to a father with O positive, especially since we have your wife's medical information. Her blood group is AB. There is a 0% chance you are the biological father of this boy." The words echoed in the sterile hospital corridor. 0% chance. Alex froze. His chest heaved. The nurse's revelation that they desperately needed an O negative donor, combined with the doctor's words, crashed into his brain like a sledgehammer. The pieces of the puzzle began to violently click together. The chocolate skin, the broad shoulders, the way Chike held the boy in the hospital room, the way Chike was always around, paying for things, looking at his wife. "Chike," Alex whispered, his voice trembling with a mixture of absolute humiliation and demonic rage. "Chike is O negative." While Alex was standing in the hospital corridor, his mind fracturing from the betrayal, Vera was already speeding down the Lekki Epe Expressway. She had made one urgent, tearful phone call as she ran to her car. "Chike, Alfred is in the hospital. He needs a transfusion immediately. He is O negative. Alex just tested his blood. He knows Chike. He knows everything." On the other end of the line, Chike didn't hesitate for a single second.
"I'm heading to the hospital right now, Vera. Don't worry about Alex. I will save our son. Go to the house, pack your things, and get out of there before he leaves the clinic." But as Vera ran into her house, she couldn't tell how Alex would handle the news. Vera ran into the room and went straight to her closet, clutching her international passport and her documents. Her life was literally hanging by a thread. The gate opened. She peered through the curtain. It was Alex's car. He didn't even park properly. He crashed into the flower pots in the driveway. He storms out of the vehicle, his face completely deformed by pure rage. Vera bolted down the stairs, her heart in her throat. She heard the front door slam open with enough force to shatter the glass. "Vera!" Alex roared, his voice sounding like a wounded animal. "Vera! Where is that boy from? Who owns the child in my house?"
Vera didn't look back. She slipped through the kitchen back door into the compound, running for her life toward the pedestrian gate. As she reached the driveway, her heart dropped. Alex's car was parked carelessly across the compound, completely blocking her own vehicle in. There was no way she could drive out before he reached her. Just then, as she burst onto the street, she saw a taxi. Vera threw herself into the back seat. "Drive! Drive! Drive!" she screamed.
As the taxi sped away, she looked back and saw Alex running onto the street, holding a wheel spanner, screaming curses into the empty air. The man who treated women like tissue paper had just realized he was the one who had been thoroughly used, discarded, and replaced. Can somebody explain something to me? Why was Alex suddenly charging around like an unhinged man simply because he found out Vera cheated? This was the same man who had spent years disrespecting his marriage without remorse. Funny how Alex spent years treating infidelity like a game until life placed him on the receiving end of the same pain.
Vera quickly called the hospital reception in tears. "Please, my husband is coming there angry. He just found out something terrible and I'm scared he may cause trouble. Please don't let him into the emergency room until he calms down."
Back at the hospital, nurses moved frantically around Alfred while Chike rushed into the emergency unit without wasting a second. "His blood type matches," one nurse shouted. Chike immediately climbed onto the donor bed. "Take whatever you need, just save him." Minutes later, Alex stormed into the hospital like a man possessed. His shirt was soaked in sweat, his eyes burning with rage. "Where is my wife? Where is that child?" Patients and nurses turned in fear. 2 hospital security men immediately stepped in front of him. "Sir, calm down," one of them warned carefully. "Move out of my way." Alex backed, trying to force himself past them, but the more he shouted, the tighter they restrained him. "Sir, this is a hospital," another security officer said firmly. "You cannot behave like this near the emergency unit." "I have the right to see my son," Alex screamed, struggling against them. Inside the emergency room, Chike lay quietly donating blood while doctors fought desperately to stabilize Alfred. Vera stood by the glass shaking uncontrollably, praying under her breath as the machines beeped faster and faster. But precious time had already been lost. And then the monitors changed. The rhythm slowed. One nurse looked at the doctor in panic. Another tried again frantically. But a heavy silence slowly filled the room. Alfred was gone. Chike closed his eyes weakly on the donor bed. Vera collapsed to her knees. And outside the room, Alex suddenly stopped struggling, because even before anybody spoke, he already knew. For the first time in his life, Alex didn't speak. No insults, no screaming, no accusations, no ego. Just shock and a terrible realization pressing down on his chest. A doctor stepped forward to speak to him.
The doctor explained quietly that Alfred was gone. Nobody could understand how a little boy who had looked so healthy days earlier was suddenly fighting for his life from an illness the doctors themselves could not fully explain. The delay in getting the blood transfusion had cost precious time Alfred no longer had. Alex stood there in complete silence. Just a minute ago, rage had consumed him. Betrayal had burned through his chest like fire. But now, all the anger was gone. Nothing mattered anymore. Not the lies, not the cheating, not even the humiliation. Because the little boy he had laughed with, carried on his shoulders, and proudly called his son, was gone.
2 years after, the divorce between Vera and Alex was finalized, but the scar that Alfred left in their heart could never be erased.
No lawyers shouting, no dramatic courtroom scenes, no fighting over properties. Vera didn't fight for revenge, and Alex didn't fight for ownership. Alex surrendered everything, packed his bags, and moved completely out of Lagos, a ghost of himself, a man haunted by the memory of a son he only chose to love when it was time to play the hero. My people, come closer, because this is no longer just a story of cheating, pride, or revenge. This is a story about the ultimate price of negligence. Alex thought he had lost his dignity when he found out Alfred wasn't his biological blood.
But each time he looked at a portrait of Alfred, memories of the day he lost him forever would consume him.
He hadn't just lost a trophy, he had lost a boy who for 2 years looked up at him with innocent eyes and called him daddy. His pride didn't matter anymore. His fat bank account couldn't buy back the breath that had just left that small room. While he was busy treating his marriage like tissue paper, life was busy writing a receipt he could never afford to pay. In the months that followed, grief reshaped everything. The child who had brought Vera and Chike together was gone, and for a long time, a heavy, suffocating blanket of guilt threatened to consume them. They stayed in contact, not as lovers, not as a rushed replacement for their loss, but
but as two broken people bound by the same deep wound. Some days they talked, some days they didn't. They didn't run from the pain, they sat in it together. And in that shared brokenness, the pretense fell away. There was no Alex to hide from anymore, no revenge to plot. Over time, something gentle began to grow between them, not born from betrayal or escape, but from pure understanding and time. They didn't rush it. They couldn't. And when Vera later discovered she was pregnant, she didn't feel the terror or panic she felt 3 years ago. There was no timeline to calculate, no ego to manipulate. It was not framed as a twist of fate or a hidden secret, but as a fragile, unexpected beginning after a long season of grief. Chike didn't celebrate loudly. He simply held her hand, looking into her eyes with the same warmth from the night they first met. "We take it one day at a time," he said softly. And for the first time in years, Vera closed her eyes, breathed properly, and believed that was enough. Tell me, who is truly to blame in this story? Alex, Vera, or Chike? And be honest, should Vera have walked away the very first time she caught Alex cheating, or was she right to stay and hope he would change?
Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm reading every single one. If this story touched you, don't just leave it here. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you enjoy emotional African folk tales like this one, subscribe to African Folk Tales with Nsinem, because the next story might just hit even deeper than this one. Because here is the truth. A home built on deception cannot stand. When cheating becomes a habit and disrespect is ignored, love slowly dies until what remains is regret. Because sometimes the loudest heartbreak is not cheating, it is staying too long where love has already died. If you enjoyed this story, I am sure you will enjoy this story on your screen. Click to watch and I'll see you there.